I have a question, guys. Could you hear me for the last 10 minutes? Okay, brilliant. Well, then I will have to start again. And okay, give me 1 second. I have to restore the page. So you couldn't hear me at all for the last 10 minutes when I was explaining what we're doing today. Okay, that's not good. I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, I know what's going on. I don't know how to navigate this Windows computer because I don't work with Windows usually. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the beginning and start talking about today's chapter. So we sort of getting back to the chapter 9, and um, well, I hope you can hear me well right now because I see my microphone unmuted and I cannot start the video because I basically have no camera on it. So last week we were having midterm and we had chapter 10 with SSH. So SSH shouldn't be a problem for you anymore after you done your midterm CTF over the wire bandit game. So that's why I didn't want to concentrate much on that chapter. And unfortunately, not everyone still returned the report. And if you know that you didn't return the report, or another option that I offered to students to create a video, um, I have a couple students who created really good walkthroughs on Bandit game, and I also count this as a complete report. So please make sure you submit your report ASAP because it's already been due. Uh, Whoever returned the report, you will see your grades by the end of this week. Midterm exam. As you could notice, some of the question had errors in it. So I will give you points back for those questions that had errors. And even though I tried to fix this exam right before the exam, somehow because those questions were pulled from the quiz bank, from the Red Hat itself, uh, the errors there, I guess, not, even you trying to fix them, they're not getting saved or something like that because I see the same errors that I had been fixing for like right before the exam. So if you already see your grade posted for the test and you're unsatisfied with the result, please reach out and we will figure out what you can do to get extra points and just to get at least a passing grade. And if you don't see your grade yet, just wait because I have to grade manually. Each of you had 50 questions and I have 16 students in the class, so it takes me a while to grade each test because I have to actually read your answers. And then when I see incorrect questions, not answer, incorrect questions, and if I see student answered correctly and it's counted wrong, or if the question doesn't have any correct answers, I just give you your points back. Today we're going to talk about controlling services and demons. And this chapter 9 very related to the chapter that we've been going through week before the midterm. And we were talking about processes. So system processes are processes too. They can be started, can be stopped, can be suspended, and everything else you can do with any other process. However, you have to understand when you're working with system processes, you will have consequences of your actions, because when you're stopping or starting system processes, they are actively depend on your operating system operation. And you can identify services, and yes, system processes we call services or daemons, by extension, sort of extension, dot service. And if you see that service, it represents the services. If you see dot socket, it represents inter-process communication, and that path used to delay activation of service pool. So today, through both of the guided exercises, we will be working with one process, that is system CTL. And I want to see all of you starting your labs. So I see right now only 2 students who are working in the lab. So please make sure you go ahead and book the lab right now. Then make sure you take a screenshot of your booking. Okay, 3 students just joined out of the class. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna be waiting for you to join. I'm just gonna start the lab, but I hope you will join me quickly. And we're gonna jump to guided exercise just in a moment. Before we even start guided exercise, come on, red hat. I'm going to show you the help page for the system CTL. So we're gonna start this red hat virtual machine CTL Dart all. Okay, wonderful. So while we're in kiosk and I'm not loading to the next lab, system CTL help. And you can see different types of help documents for this command, so you can browse it through. So with this command, we will explore current state of this system, so we can see what services are running. And remember, I told you if it has extension service, that's a service, system service. So daemon, it's a system service. If you hear daemon, that refers to the system services. Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, so now we can actually start our lab, and I'm gonna SSH to student workstation. And I would recommend you, if you haven't done so yet, just don't do lab services identify start, because we're gonna do both guided exercises within one reservation. And if you will start the lab and later it will be hard to restart the next lab, they're gonna be conflicting, so you don't have to do another reservation. So you can just skip it and go to SSH. Well, you can start the lab if you started already. So we SSH to server A, and now we're gonna just run the same command I previously showed you that will show us what services currently are running on this host or server A. Ah, to exit this, you just press Q, and then we're gonna list all socket units active and inactive on server A. So you can read here what socket units are inactive. Like you can see that syslog is inactive, it's dead. The rest are active. We press Q to exit again. And Next, we need to explore the status of cronid service. So cronid service is the service that helps you to update your system time. And in this guided exercise, in the future guided exercise, we're going to work with this system process, because this system process will the least affect the workability of our operating system. So because we don't want to mess up our system, we really don't want to work with the system processes that we are not familiar with and that we don't know how can affect operations of our operating system. Okay, so systemctl status cronid. So right now we can see it's highlighted in green that cronid is active and running. Let's see what process ID we have for this system. It's 693 PID. Okay, so we press Q to exit. Now we need to confirm that this daemon is running. So we do see that this daemon is running and our process ID is 680. So the main process ID was 693. The current process that we verified is 680. Explore the status of SSHD service. The service is used to secure encrypted communication between systems. Okay. Systemctl is enabled SSHD. And it tells us it is enabled. Next, we need to see if it's active. So maybe it is enabled but not active. So same command but with active. And yes, it is active. Let's check the status of this service. Systemctl status HD. So we can see it's active, it's running, we can see process ID, we can see how many tasks it performs, how much memory it takes. Q for exit to exit. Okay. So now we want to list the enabled and disabled states of all service units. So we use the same command, systemctl, and list unit files type service. Type Okay. So we can see disabled, we can see enabled services. We also can see static services. How about we're gonna check cronid, the one that we just used. So cronid service enabled. Okay, we can press Q and then we're exiting server A. And we're finishing this guided exercise. Make sure you will take the screenshot. So make sure you take this screenshot to submit your guided exercise. And next guided exercise is going to be controlling system services. So as I told you earlier, we can start or stop any system services when we want. We also can restart and reload them. And the main difference between restart and reload, so when we restart the service, it's like starts brand new service, right? And it receives the new process ID. But when we just reload the service, it stays with the same status ID. Process ID, my bad. You also have to learn about masking and unmasking services. So sometimes administrator doesn't want anybody to mess with the system services, and this administrator would mask this service, uh, this process as a service. Okay, so going to guided exercise controlling system services. Very similar to the previous exercise, we will be working with one single command. So we SSH to the server A after we start this lab. And first command that we execute will be systemctl restart and systemctl status, just to see the status of the service. So it's active and running. Now we need to restart this command. We use sudo because we cannot restart command as a regular user. We need super user for that. The password is student. And let's check the status again. So the status is active and running, but let's compare main PID. So our main PID 1392 now, and previously it was 7:52. So as you can see, when we restart um, service, it gets new PID, process ID. Next, we're gonna reload the same process. And now we need to check the status. And as you can see, the process ID stayed the same as the previous time, so nothing changed. Basically just reloaded this process. So from now, we will work with the cronid, because when we're stopping services, we need to make sure we're not stopping something that might affect our functionality of the system. So first, we're gonna check the system, the status of the cronid. Okay, we see it's active and running. Let's see what PID it has. It's main PID 693. Perfect. So with Q, we're exiting this. And now we're gonna stop cronid. So we do sudo again. And if we verify that process had been stopped, we see it's inactive or dead. Inactive, dead. Okay, so we stop this with Q and exit this command with Q. Now we need to verify if it's enabled. Yes, it is enabled. So we're gonna reboot server A right now. Sudo systemctl reboot. And we're back to our student workstation. After that, we need to SSH back to the student server A. Okay, good, I'm here. So now we need to verify the situation with our cronid. So we're gonna run status on cronid. And we can see after we rebooted, it's active and running. Perfect. So now, in the next step, we're actually going to disable this process. Disable. Oops, I just misentered the password. So we see that cronit been removed. Okay. I'm gonna run this command again because that's not output we want to receive. Okay. Let's run the status on it. So we can see it's active and running, but it's also disabled right here. Good. So we achieve what we need with that, and now we need to reboot the server. We're back to student workstation, so we need to SSH back to the student server A. SSH student. And let's verify the status of cronit again. Okay, so what do we see now? It's loaded, it's inactive, it's dead. Okay, that's exactly what we have right now on our screen and in our book, so it's matching, and that's the end of this guided exercise. So we're gonna exit, and then we're gonna exit again with student workstation. So we're gonna finish this lab. Make sure you take a screenshot of this and submit it. Okay, guys, perfect. So we're done very quickly today with both guided exercises, and